Okay, it's 4 minutes past the hour, so I think let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon. Hopefully no one is good evening. My name is Joe Wong. I'm here with my colleagues Don McGinnis and Marcy Samuelson. Today we're going to walk you through a hands-on lab around building an advanced enterprise digital system for the enterprise. And as some of you may have attended our previous session, which took place in September, and we Don and I walked through the digital assistant overview. But today we wanted to offer you an opportunity to really try it out in the next 2 hours. So Don, do you want to go ahead and talk about our agenda today?
Absolutely, thanks, Joe. So what we're going to do here, the bulk of today is going to be spent obviously on the hands-on lab. There's actually 5 labs that are available in total. Joe and I have done these hands-on lab sessions a lot, and we decided that probably setting the expectation that we'll get through 3 of the 5 labs is reasonable. Of course, you can always go back and do labs 4 and 5 if you don't get to them today. In fact, you can go back and work on anything at any time. So we have 2 hours allocated today where one or both of us will be available for questions as we go through the labs. So what we want to accomplish in the morning is we're going to do a quick overview of the exercise, and then I want to make sure we get everybody signed up and either using their own instance or creating a new instance, their own existing instance, or creating a new instance so that we can get through the lab. Now, just in case anybody has any problems registering, getting their instance set up, et cetera, we do have a couple of standby instances that we can use if needed. So a couple of sort of housekeeping things. All of the labs can be found at the bit.ly links, at the bit.ly link, I should say. The free trial link is also the trial-1117 for today link. The first lab that we're going to be looking at is really getting deep into your first skill. We're going to be creating a pizza bot, and then we're going to be adding it to a digital assistant in follow-up labs. And we want to allocate 60 minutes for the first lab and make sure that we answer all of the foundational questions that are going to occur. Because the first lab is probably, for those of you who haven't seen the Oracle Digital Assistant, that will be probably the most new information as we explore the platform. Don't worry, we're going to go through this step by step. From a housekeeping perspective, if you could put all the questions into the Q&A area. This is set up as a webinar. So we have 3 panelists, and we have a Q&A area, and we'll attempt to answer them there. We'll do our best to, when there's 2 of us online anyway, we'll do our best to triage those in real time. We may have a couple of tips and tricks as we go through, and as people ask questions, it may apply to the group. Okay, what I'd like to do here is play a short video that's going to introduce the first 2 labs, and then we want to get into, Joe is going to help us make sure that we have all of the instances set up, that we've got everybody set up for a free trial. Let's do this video first, Joe, and then we'll segue back to you. Greetings and welcome to this short video, which serves as an introduction to a series of labs and hands-on exercises that you're going to complete as part of your introduction to the Oracle Digital Assistant platform. The goal of this introduction is to provide you insight and hands-on experience with the key components of the Oracle Digital platform. You'll learn about things like intents and entities and skills and dialogue flows. You'll then learn how a digital assistant is made. And finally, you'll actually take your digital assistant and you'll deploy it on a company website. Now, for purposes of this introduction, again, we want you to understand the fundamental parts of the platform, but we're going to give you a head start. So please make sure that you've downloaded the 3 required zip files that you can see on the screen now. These files give you a code base that you can use for the rest of the exercises so that you're not starting from scratch. Now, each of the three labs that we'll talk about today has a series of components within those labs. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you and walk you through at a high level what we're doing at each step of those labs, again, to give you some familiarity with the overall picture. In the first lab, lab number 1, designing the pizza skill, what we're going to do is we're going to take one of the files, we're going to bring it into the Oracle Digital Assistant platform, and then we're going to explore it and test it. We're going to understand what are the components of a skill. Now, a skill is the first level of a chatbot that you're going to be working with. Multiple skills put together make a digital assistant. So first things first, in step 1, we're going to explore the existing skill that we have with our pizza bot. We're then going to go on into step 2, and we're going to add something called an entity. And entities are additional information that the bot uses to not only be more intelligent, but to do more creative things. And as you explore the different types of entities, you'll see how they fit in to the overall natural language processing capabilities of the Oracle Digital Assistant platform. When we move into step 3, we'll delve into associating entities with intents. And I don't want to steal all the thunder of step 3, but suffice it to say that in order for a bot to recognize entities, it has to be trained to do so. And this is what you're doing in step 3 of lab 1. Moving on to step 4, now we really get into the guts of building a skill. And in this step, you're actually going to implement the logic and the conversational back and forth that will make the pizza ordering skill what it is. And don't worry, you're going to see a lot of text, something called OBOT ML, or Oracle Bot Markup Language. It's a form of something called YAML, which is a simple markup language. And trust me when I say that if you ever get lost, you can go right into the tutorial and copy and paste, and you'll be fine. In step 5, once we complete the programming of the OBOT ML that we talked about in step 4, we're actually going to go in, and the first thing we're going to do is validate the skill. This will make sure that we don't have any syntax errors in our OBOT ML. Once we validated the skill, we will then train it, which is the task of actually making the natural language processing work on the training data that you have done in previous steps. Again, this will all make sense as you get into the individual labs. Finally, in step 6, we're going to test the skill. That will complete our development work. We just want to make sure that we leverage the various aspects of the ODA platform that allow us to thoroughly test not only how well your skill recognizes different customer inputs, but that the dialogue flow performs as you'd expect it. This will all be part of step 6 in testing the skill. And then finally, in step 7, you'll actually publish the skill, which means that you make the skill available to be added to an Oracle Digital Assistant in future sessions. Okay, so I hope that was helpful for the first lab. What I'd like to do now is move on.
Great, thank you, Don. And I'm going to try to share my screen. So first of all, what you want to do is in the chat, Marcy shared a free trial link. Hopefully you had a chance to sign up for a free trial already. If you follow the link, there's a bit.ly link, then trial-1117. You'll be able to just very quickly fill out some basic information as well as, and then verify the email. And all right, so that's the first step. And once you sign up for the account and set up your account name and things like that, you should be able to then log into the OCI console. Now, besides, there are instructions, and I think Marcy also shared the instructions on how to create a digital assistant instance. So once you logged in, then you can follow along to create your digital assistant instance. And let me just quickly do that as we go live. So this is what the OCI console looks like, and and you should be on the corner here indicates which data center and data region you're logged into. Generally speaking, you can just use the home region that you're created in. That's fine. And then what you want to do is go into the hamburger icon, and under data and AI set of services, there's an entry for digital assistant. That's where you will be creating the digital assistant instance. However, before you do that, you do want to, as you kind of walk through the instance, what we also recommend you to is create a compartment. And compartment is basically a concept that's akin to essentially type of environment. So this is a grouping of the resources that you want to put all your OCI services into. So we would recommend you to create a, although you don't have to, we will recommend you to create a compartment. And the way you do that is go into identities and then compartments. And I can just say, you know, currently I'm in the root compartment. I can just say create compartment and give it a name. For example, ODA hands-on lab, creating a compartment, ODA hands-on lab demo. And you can pick whether to create in the root or not. In your instance, you can just create in the root. If you actually have a running, you already have your own instance, then you can just create in any place you want. And then what you can go back to is then go to hamburger icon, and data and AI, digital assistant. And on the left side of the screen here, you will see compartment. So basically, you want to pick the compartment you have just created, which, yeah, there you go. That was the one I just created, I think. It's a little bit slow. And then you can just create the digital assistant instance, right? And you can give it a name. And this could be any name, ODA instance, ODA dev. So one, given description, digital assistant dev environment. And then you can pick a shape. And for the purpose of this, you can just pick a development shape. It really doesn't matter unless you really intend to go production at some point. Then otherwise, you should be able to just pick the development shape and then just hit create. All right, so I'm not going to do that now, but the process doesn't really take that long. And once the process is done, and this is through the magic of a TV show, then you will see this digital assistant instance listed. And then what you can do is just, when you drill into the instance, you can click on Service Console, and that's going to launch the digital assistant instance. And really, this is the starting point of the hands-on lab. You need to be able to get into the, the digital assistant instance, which I'm on Wi-Fi hotspot, so I think I'm having a little issue. It's taking a little time. But you get the general idea. Once you click on the service instance, you can do that. Just one more thing to share. If you want to, for example, conserve your cloud credit, Digital Assistant does incur a minimum charge of 250 requests per hour, although it is free credit that you're consuming. If you want to stop consuming the free credit, you can just hit the stop button. What this does is it basically essentially pause the instance. All the data and all that is still preserved, although Digital Assistant wouldn't be processing any request at that moment, and also all the metering is stopped as well. So you won't get charged and spend your Okay, so that's really all I have. Any questions? You can maybe post it to the Q&A. The question, so we'll just answer live. Are the always free service LCI enough for those labs? So digital assistant is not always free. Actually, it will. However, when you sign up for the account, if you follow the instruction in the chat, you will get a new cloud account with the $500, I think, free credit. Then you can use that. So if you have an account that still have some free credit, you're welcome to use that. However, if you you don't have one, then you can still follow the instructions and this free trial link, and then request a new account with fresh credit. And Marcy, you can correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think that you should be able to do that even if you have an existing account. Okay, so it looks like it is taking a little bit of time, but once you'll be able to do that, okay. And also, important thing, Marcy also set up send out a link on DA-setup. So that's this that's this document you see here. Once the account is created, you can go into the OCI account and start creating, right? And actually in the instance here, have you created the root compartment? Again, you don't have to do that. You can create your own compartment. And also, I think we would recommend you to choose the development shape. You can use the production shape if you want to, but it really doesn't matter either way for the purpose of the lab. And the creation of the instance takes about 3 to 5 minutes. It wouldn't take that long. Sometimes the screen wouldn't refresh, so you may have to refresh a couple times. And maybe this is worthwhile to just quickly go into. In the OCI account, if you go into hamburger icon under the governance administration, and under governance, there's this limit, quota, and usage, right? And it's possible that the account you have already have exceeded the ODA instance quota for some reason, or it's not activated in the region. So for example, you can pick under the governance, limits and quota, under, you can scroll down to digital assistant and see which data region. I have a special account, so the service limit is very high. But in your instance, if you pick, for example, in Brazil, you should be able to see the digital instance count, whether the service limit is set to is 0 or 1 or 3 or 20. I think the default is 20. Or for trial count, I think the default is 1, which is enough for this lab. However, if you are not able to see that in this data region, then you see 0, then it's best that you just request a new account or change to a different region. But you know, I think for the purpose of this lab, it's hard to diagnose what exactly is going on. Yeah.
So I've put up on the screen what you will see when you first log into an ODA instance. I'm going to pause a moment, and looks like people are in. The easiest way to get to skills is by clicking on the hamburger menu next to the Oracle Digital Assistant version 2008 up in the title bar. And then under development, you'll see skills. And in the case of the backup instance that we're using, there should already be a pizza bot in here that you can clone, if I can type. Okay, it looks like we're making good progress. Congratulations, everybody. I know it's a bit of a challenge getting everything set up and drinking from the fire hose like this. Why don't we plan to continue for the next 30 minutes working on the lab, because candidly, once you get going, it's pretty much downhill from here as far as following the steps in the lab. I'll be here, but I'm gonna make a note to check in at 11:20, and we'll check progress on everybody, and then we'll talk about moving on to lab 2 and lab 3 to finish it out. We will be done by 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So I'll be here, but I'll check in 30 minutes. Muted. Okay, folks, so we're at 11:26, and what I'd like to do, as I said, is just give you a quick introduction. I'm sorry to pull you away from lab 1, but let me give you a quick introduction to lab 2 and 3, and give you a sense of what's coming up after we finish lab 1, and then we can go back and just keep making progress. It looks like people are making very good progress based on a few people are having issues, but overall, based on the lack of chats, it looks like things are going pretty well, so congratulations. Talk about a couple things we're going to do in lab 2. Let me go ahead and start this. Moving on to lab 2, you'll actually set up the existing shopping center digital assistant. There are a number of steps that we'll go through, the first of which, you'll explore the digital assistant that we've provided for you. You'll look at the functionality that exists within the digital assistant, and you'll also understand the capabilities of the platform. You'll look at different settings, such as routing and other parameters that influence how the digital assistant performs. You'll also learn about the tester, which is where we interact with our digital assistant to test it out as we're developing and modifying it. Finally, in step 2 of the second lab, you'll actually add the pizza skill to the digital assistant. Moving on to lab 3, we will personalize the digital assistant to make it behave as we would like it to behave. In step 1, we'll change what's called the invocation name. This will allow you to specifically invoke or start the pizza skill. In step 2, you'll test the invocation to make sure that it's working using the skills that you learn in lab 2. In step 3, we're going to actually customize some of the built-in, what we call system intents, that allow you to further tune the behavior of the digital assistant. And finally, in step 4, we will continue testing the digital assistant. Okay, folks, we're getting near the top of the hour, and time to wrap up the official session, but of course, you can continue working on any or all of the labs at your own leisure. I've shared a couple of important additional resources, and we'll make the direct links available to you. Folks have done really well, so congratulations and thank you again. As far as additional information, I can't stress the documentation link enough. There are everything from the product documentation to technical notes to actually additional varying types of hands-on labs that are available within the documentation. Highly recommend that you spend some quality time there to further your understanding of the scope and possibilities of the Oracle Digital Assistant platform. We will have the webcast recording available, and maybe Marcy or Joe, I'm not totally familiar with the whole requesting a cloud coach. that sounds intriguing as an additional opportunity.
Yeah, regarding the Cloud Coach program, that is for any questions that you have regarding the lab after the session is over.
I'm going to stay online for another 4 minutes until the top of the hour, and we'll be here for any last-minute questions. And again, thank you for your time and attendance today, and I hope it was helpful and educational.